Hi, this is the IGCSE Maths Tutor. I'm going to be taking you through January 2023 Paper 2F, and this is specifically for the International GCSE. I've already been through this paper and sort of highlighted a few things. If you'd like to have this paper without the answers but with the hints, then I'll put a link in the description. It's always worth pointing out that on the formula sheet, hidden there, we've got the area of a circle, and we've also got circumference of a circle as well. So they're both hidden there on the formula sheet. It doesn't tell you they're there, but I've highlighted that for you. I will also upload a link to my full handwritten solutions, and if you look in the description, I'll also link to individual questions. Anyway, let's start with question 1. So as you can see, I've highlighted a few things here. And what we need to do is arrange these 4 cards to make the smallest number possible. So we need to put the 3 in the thousands column. It's obviously the smallest number, and thousands are worth the most. And then we've got to put the 5, the 6, and the 7. So that's the smallest possible number. And then it wants the largest possible even number. So to be as large as possible, we're going to put the 7 there. Now, it would be nice to put the 6 next, but the 6 is going to go on the end because it's the only even number. And then we're going to put the 5 in the hundreds column and then the 3 there. So that's the biggest possible even number you can make. Arrange 2 cards to make a prime number. Well, there's going to be quite a few choices here. 37 sort of sticks out to me straight away. It can't end in a 5 because unless we write the number 5, no other prime number ends in a 5. It can't end in a 6. Maybe 73 would also be prime. We can also have 53 and we can have 67. So those are all the possible prime numbers you can have. If we're going to arrange these 2 cards to make a multiple of 8, there is only one choice for that. 56 is the only multiple of 8. So that's question 1. Question 2 is a pictogram. And I've just highlighted that this sort of oval represents 4 million tons of potatoes. And then the first part is which country were there 20 million potatoes grown? So what we need to be thinking is, I think it's going to be the USA because that's 4 million, 8, 12, 16, 20 million potatoes. So USA will be the answer for that. Last year, the weight of potatoes grown in the Netherlands was 6 million, so it's probably going to want us to draw that on the pictogram. So this is 4, and half of that will be 2. So 4 add 2, 6 million. And then finally, work out the total weight of potatoes grown in Germany and France last year. So Germany was 4, 8, and each one of these is worth 1 million, so that's an extra 3, so 11 million. And France is 4 plus 3, so 7. So we've got to add together 11 and 7 for Germany and France. So that's 18. Question 3. Here is a number scale. We've got a mark on where 554 goes. So we need to have a look at the scale and think, right, there are from 550 to 560, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jumps. So 554 is not here. It's too close. Each jump's worth 2. So 552 is here, 554 is there, 556, 558, 560. You can always check it like that. So that's our arrow. And then on a different scale, what number's this? Well, it's going up from 3,000 to 4,000. And we've got to figure out what each little leap's worth. Now there are 4 leaps this time. So this things you can do, that's halfway, so 3,500. So halfway between 3,000 and 3,500 is 3,250. Question 4. I'm just going to draw on my screen what is 6.5 centimeters to me, but it might not necessarily be for you. Because I've zoomed in a little bit on my computer screen. So if you can't do that, you're going to have to ask someone to teach you it in person, I'd say. Likewise with the protractor, I mean, there are lots of videos online of people using protractors and showing you how to do it. I'm getting around 44 degrees when I measure that, and that's what you should be getting to. Let's move on to question 5, which is about parcels. And I've highlighted a few things here already. Peony has one parcel of weight 1.3 kilograms. So that's between 1 and 2 kilograms. So that's going to cost £9 and 2p to send. And then the 8 kilogram parcel is between 5 and 10 kilograms. So it's going to cost £21.90 to send. The total cost will be what these two add together to make. I'll say this continually, but please use your calculator. Don't do it without a calculator. This is £30.92. And then Griffin sends 3 parcels each to a different place, and we're told the weight of 2 of them. So because we know the weight of 2 of them, we can figure out how much they cost. The 1.5 kilograms will be £9 and 2p. The 2.8 kilograms is in the 2 to 5 kilogram section, so that's going to be £15.85. And if we add those two together, we get an idea how much he spent on those 2 parcels. So when we add those together, we can sort of ignore the beginning bit of the table now. We get £24.87. So the first parcel will be the difference between £33.89 and what we know he spent on the other 2 parcels, £24.87, and that difference is £9 2p. And if we look up here, £9 2p is the price for a parcel that weighs between 1 and 2 kilograms, and that includes the 2 kilograms because we've got this inequality symbol like this. So it could have a maximum weight of 2 kilograms. I'm going to put that in there. Question 6, write 5:15 p.m. using the 24-hour clock. Well, the 24-hour clock, when we go into p.m., we just add 12 onto the 5, making it 17:15. Part B, we can actually use the calculator for this. We can actually type in 20:15, take away 16:35 using the time button. And the difference between how long she was out for a walk will be 3 hours and 40 minutes. If you don't want to use the calculator, you can just think about it completely differently. How long to get to 5 o'clock, how long to get to 8 o'clock, and then how long to get till 8:15. So 25 minutes. This was 15 minutes. So they give us our 40 minutes. And then here was our 3 hours. So another way to do it. If you don't want to use the calculator, use the time button for that. Question 7 should be the kind of question we're really happy to see. Some nice easy marks. So we're multiplying 5 C's together. So that's C to the power of 5. Remember, that's what powers are for, repeatedly multiplying the same number. And remember, C represents a number. It's just a number we don't know. 5 plus x equals 12. To solve it, we want to figure out what x is. So we take away the 5 from the left, and we have to take away 5 from the right. So x equals 7. Part C, to solve this, again, we're going to make y the subject. So we're going to get rid of the divide by 6, so we times by 6. So y equals 3 times 6, which is 18. Part D, we're going to expand the brackets. 5 times 2 is 10, and 5 times 3 is 15, so 5 times 3h is 15h. And to factorise, we're looking to put it back into brackets. So we always look to see if there's a number we can take out as a factor. There isn't, but we can take out the letter g as a factor. G times G gives us G squared. G times 7 gives us 7G. It's harder to factorize than to expand. So if you want to, you can always go back and say, right, G times G is G squared. G times 7 is 7G. If you check that way, you'll know if you've gone wrong, and you'll probably know what you did wrong if you check in that way. Question 8, so a number machine. We're told the input is 9. So we just put 9 in, we times it by 5 to get 45, and then we take away 7. 45 take away 7 is 38. And then when the input is 30 and the output is 18, find a suitable way to complete the number machine. So if we put in 30 and divide it by 5, we get 6. Okay. So at this point, there's a few choices. How do we get from 6 to 18? So we could add on 12, or we could potentially times by 3. So either of those are good choices. And then the following rule is used to work out the total cost in euros for hiring a cement mixer. It's €8 per day plus €5. So the extra €5 is like a hiring fee. You pay that regardless of how many days you hire the cement mixer for. If James hires it for 3 days, then that's going to be €8 times 3 days, which is 24, plus the €5. 24 plus 5, that's going to cost him €29. And the cost of hiring a cement mixer is €61. How many days did Sophia have it for? So the first thing we should do is take off the 5, because she's going to pay that £5 hiring fee regardless. And we get 56. And we know it's €8 a day, so we just need to figure out how many €8 are in €56, and there are 7. So Sophia hired it for 7 days. And again, if you want to check this, you could put that back in, do 8 times 7 and add on 5 to check if you get 61. Okay, a two-way table. Always check to see if they've put in all these numbers. So the 120 is here. We've got 67 professional cyclists. And the rest of the information has just been put in. So when you complete a two-way table, you're looking for where there's one bit of information missing. So things we could fill out straight away. We could figure out how many amateur cyclists there are by doing 120 take away 67, which would give us 53. And you just sort of go around the table looking for where the next gap is. For instance, we can't figure out this number right now because we're missing this one and we're missing these. But if we're patient and just work our way around, there's 2 more things we could find now. We could either find this one, or we could find, say, this one. Because 26 plus 13 is 39, so this one must be 13. And continue to just work your way around finding all these numbers. I'm just going to quickly fill them in. This one should be 27. And then let's just put the rest in. 22 add 32 is 54. 13 plus 32 plus 8 gives us 53. And 19 plus 8 plus 20 equals 27. So fairly easy marks. You've got a calculator. So that's the table completed. We've got 3 marks. I'm just going to zoom out a bit because the questions are about the table. What percentage of cyclists answered mountain bike? So that's 54 cyclists in total out of the 120 cyclists. Now, these numbers were available even if you couldn't complete the table. So that's what fraction answered mountain bike. And what we're going to do now is if we simplify that, it's 9/20. If we go to decimal, it's 0.45. And it wanted it as a percentage, didn't it? So that's going to be 45%. Times it by 100 to get it as a percentage. And then Jacob is going to draw a pie chart for the age groups of the 120 cyclists. There are 41 people in the over 60 age group. work out the size of the angle representing the over 60 age group. So there are 120 people, and in a pie chart, the whole way around is 360 degrees. So we can figure out from that what the angle is for one person. Using the unitary method, which just means to find one, you divide by 120 because there are 120 people. And then that's what we do on the other side. We've got to divide 360 by 120. So that means one person is 3 degrees. So 41 people, which is what the question's asking us, will be 41 lots of 3, which is 126. So the angle will be 123, I mean, not 126. That's me doing it without a calculator. Just checked it on my calculator. 123 degrees. Question 10, we've got a table. Write down the mode of the number of cookies made. So the table's showing us 21 people in a cookery class made cookies. Most of them, it'll be the one with the highest frequency. So the highest frequency exists here. 7 people made 11 cookies, so the mode is 11 cookies. The median number of cookies, well, we've got to find what's in the middle. So it's not 15 cookies because only that was the most made, and it's not 10 cookies because that was the least made. Because there's 21 people, there's a little trick to find the middle person. You add on 1, divide by 2. So it's the 11th person. So where is the 11th person? Well, what we can do is do the cumulative frequency. 1 plus 7 is 8, plus 2 is 10. So we're up to the 10th person. So the 11th person made 13 cookies because that takes us up to 15, 19, 21. So the median number of cookies made was 13. And then it wants us to figure out the total number of cookies made by the 21 people in the cookery class. So to do that, I'm going to need to delete what I did over here. And then one person made 10 cookies, so that's 10 cookies. 7 people made 11 cookies, so that's 77 cookies. So overall, we've counted up 87 cookies so far. I'm just going to keep multiplying. Remember, use your calculator. I am just doing these in my head, so I'm going to double check in a minute. And the total amount of cookies will be all of these added together. And they should add up to 262. So overall in the class, they made 262 cookies. What's important there is I didn't actually show my working out in that section. It's up here. An examiner would see where you did your working out, but maybe I should come down here and show that I added all of these together, just to be 100% clear of where that 262 came from, just to make sure I get all the marks. Question 11. So we can put this straight in the calculator. 4 plus 3 is 7, plus 6 is 13. You don't even need to work this out. You could just type it straight in. The calculator will do that for you. And that's 169. I'll just show you that on my calculator. 64 is equal to 4 to the power of something. Well, things you could do here, 4 to the power of 1 is 4. 4 to the power of 2 is 16. And 4 to the power of 3 is 64. So n is 3. And we can type this straight into our calculator. You don't need to show any of the steps. We get 1.45582. And you can go further if you want to, but it's happy at that point in the mark scheme, and the mark scheme's available in the description if you want to find it. It's got this bit in brackets, so it kind of wants up till the 2, and it's not too bothered about the 307. So I've just taken here, Alicia and Jaya scored goals for their team in the ratio 4-7. So just put that there. Jaya scored 39 more goals than Alicia. So there's three types of ratio questions. One is when you're asked to share it, and there's the other two where you're sort of interpreting the sharing. And what's key here is Jaya scored 3 parts more. 7 is 3 bigger than 4. So those 3 parts are what equals 39. So we can straight away figure out what 1 part is. Again, we're using the unitary method, divide by 3. So 1 part is 13. So now we can go back and say, right, 4 times 13, 52. 7 times 13, 91. So work out the number of goals Alicia scored. So she scored 52. And we can check here. This is 39 more. So it worked. Question 13, we're told there are 380 students in a sixth form, and that sixth form split up into upper sixth and lower sixth, so 2 different year groups. And we know there are 20 students fewer in the upper sixth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say we don't know how many are in the lower sixth. So I'm going to call it X, which is what we use for an unknown number. And the upper sixth is the same, but with 20 fewer. So there's 2 expressions for those parts of the upper sixth. If I combine them, this now represents the total number of students in the sixth form. And we do actually know that there are 380 students in the sixth form. So I can form a little equation here to figure out what X is and therefore how many people are in the lower sixth. To solve it, I'm going to add on 20 to get 400. And then I'm going to divide by 2, so X is 200. There are 200 students in the lower sixth and 180 in the upper sixth. And those two do add up to 380. And 180 is 20 less than 200, so I can feel pretty confident about that. So 2/5 of the upper sixth students study maths. So I'm going to do 2/5 of 180. And you can just times that in your calculator to do it. And we are going to get 72. And then 32% of the lower sixth students study mathematics. So we're just going to, again, just do 32% times 200. So you can just type it straight in your calculator like that. And we get 64. And the total number of students in sixth form who study mathematics is going to be 72 plus 64, which is 136 students. So on this sheet, and again, if you want this, the sheet I'm working on, which has got a few hints, a few highlighted things, if you like to have a go at this paper yourself using that, it's available in the description. We've got a rectilinear shape or a compound shape, like an L shape. I always see it split into 2 rectangles. I've split it into rectangle A and rectangle B. We know everything about rectangle A. It's a 14 by 6 rectangle. So I can figure out its area just by timesing the length by the width. And it has an area of 84 centimeters squared. Rectangle B is 7.5 times X. We don't know the other side. So it's 7.5 X centimeters squared. Now to figure out X, we do know the volume. The volume of the prison is 924 centimeters cubed. So actually we can figure out the combined area by dividing by 8. Because 8 is the depth, going back, and that will give us the area of the cross section if we divide by that. 924 divided by 8, use your calculator, is 115.5. Okay. And if we form an equation, then 84 plus 7.5 gives us an overall area of 115.5. 7.5x, wasn't it? Cool. And then we can figure out what x is. Take off the 84 from both sides. 115.5, take away 84 is 31.5. And then to figure out x, we're just going to divide by 7.5. And I'm getting an answer of 4.2. Just going to check that with the mark scheme so I'm not telling you the wrong answer. And that is correct. Again, I've sort of drawn on here just to sort of make it clear what's going on in this question. It wants us to find angle W, which is the blue angle. And we've got a point here. So we know these three angles around the point should add up to 360. And if you look, I've highlighted two angles as being red. ABE equals DEG. These are corresponding angles. They're the same. And we've got to give reasons here. So I'm going to say straight away, ABE equals angle DEG, which equals 73. And that's because corresponding angles are equal. Okay. I'm using three letters there to describe the angle ABE. We can't say angle B because there's three angles around point B. So that's why I'm using three letters. And then we can say angle W is equal to 163 degrees because angles around a point sum to 360. And let's just show that because 73 plus 124 equals 197. And if we take that away from 360, we should get 163, which is angle W. So if you just get 163 and don't give your reasons, you're not going to get all the marks. There's 4 marks up for grabs. I would imagine, yeah, 2 of those will be for giving the reasons. Okay. Question 16. We've got 3 5/7, which is a mixed number. And if we're going to divide these, we need to convert them back into improper fractions or top-heavy fractions. So the way to do that, 3 5/7, you do 3 times 7, which is 21, plus the 5 is 26. So it's 26/7. 1 times 8 is 8, plus the 5 is 13/8. Okay. And now we can divide them, but we never divide fractions. But there's a reason why I highlighted the divide symbol. What we'll always do with fractions is we flip them over. We flip the second one over, the one we're dividing by. So we're going to do 26/7 times 8/13. Okay. 26 times 8, use your calculator. 208. 7 times 13 is 91. 208 divided by 91 gives us 16/7. And you can use your calculator now to get it back as a mixed number, 2 2/7. And if we come back up to where we started, that's what we were told it would be. Didn't talk about this. If you're asked to show something, kind of ignore the answer to start with. That's just what we should end up with. Don't try and use it in your working out. You could just do this straight away in your calculator, but if you do that, you're not going to get any marks. You've got to show that you know how to do this without a calculator, which is weird because they gave you a calculator. Question 17, change a speed of 90 kilometers per hour to a speed in meters per second. So we've got to get the kilometers into meters and eventually the hour into seconds. So I just started here by writing 90 kilometers is 1 hour, which is also 60 minutes. What I'm going to do I'm going to go straight to meters. Remember, kilometer means 1,000 meters, so 90,000 meters in 60 minutes. And I want to go, like, how far would you go in 1 minute? So using the unitary method here, we're going to divide by 60. So I've got to divide 90,000 by 60, which is 1,500 meters in 1 minute, which is 60 seconds. And then the final step here, how far do you go in 1 second then? So unitary method again, we're going to divide by 60. And we divide 1,500 by 60. Should already still be in your calculator. So 25 meters in 1 second. So the speed will be 25 meters per second. Lots of other questions like this if you want to practice it. Okay, and I've come ahead here and highlighted. So you need to learn this Venn notation. This means A and B, the section A and B. I remember that this symbol, which isn't the letter N, kind of looks like the letter N, and I think of it as A and B. So that straight off the 12, the 16, and the 20 exist in the region that is both A and B. Here is our universal set. These are all the numbers we've got to put into the Venn diagram. So I'm going to circle them as I go. The next bit, A union B, means anything in the two circles, but because it's got that dash there, that means not in A and not in B. And the key to this is the set notation is designed to make it quicker to write. Turning it back into a sentence will help you. So the 17 and the 19 exist outside A and B. And A is even numbers. So from our list, these are the even numbers left over. So 14 and 18 will go into A. And whatever we've got left over, the 11, I wanted to do that in a different color. The 11, the 13, the 15, they need to go into just B. Things you can do now, just sort of check you've got every number. So I'll go through and go, have I got 11? Have I got 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20? Perfect, I've got them all. Once you get the hang of these, quite easy marks. There's 3 marks just for that. It's just getting your head around the notation. Here I've come ahead and because this is a rectangle, the two opposite sides will always be the same length. So I've said that the 5x minus 1 is equal to the 3x plus 7.4. So I formed a little equation here, which I'm going to solve. We've got x on both sides, so we've got to get rid of x from one side. And you always try and identify where are there the fewest amount of x's. It's on the right. So I'm going to take away 3x from the right-hand side, and I take away 3x from the left-hand side. To get 2x on its own, to get rid of minus 1, I add 1. And the final step, to figure out what x is, I divide by 2, so it's 4.2. Now that we know x is 4.2, there's something we could do here to check we've done it right. If we substitute into here, 5 times 4.2, take away 1, we get a side of 20. We should get 20 when we substitute in over here as well. So 3 times x, 3 times 4.2, plus our 7.4 is also 20. This side is 24, so this side is 24. And it wants the perimeter. So we're just going to add all of these together. So 24 add 24, plus 20 plus 20 will give us a perimeter of 88 centimeters. Question 20, we've got a cake which its weight has been rounded to 2 decimal places. So the decision was made to round it to 2.75 kilograms rather than 2.74 or 2.76. So the lower bound, the smallest weight it could possibly be, is halfway between 2.74 and 2.75, which is 2.745. So that's the lower bound. And the upper bound is 2.755. So this topic is called upper and lower bounds. If you're unsure of that, maybe go away and find some videos and some more questions on that. And that's that. And here we've got Penny has done this on her calculator and she's got the wrong answer. It's not sensible, so she's probably put the decimal point in the wrong place. And we're being asked to estimate this to work out what should have been a more sensible answer. So when we estimate, we've got to round each number to one significant figure. So 81.3, the first significant figure is the 8, which is in the tens column. So we're rounding it to the nearest 10, which is 80. 59.2, the first significant figure is the 5, which is in the tens column. So to the nearest 10, it's 60. And 1.9, the first significant figure is the 1, which is in the units column. So 1.9 will round to 2. You've got to show these numbers, okay? And then 80 times 60 is 4,800. 2 squared is 4. And then 4,800 divided by 4 is 1,200. So our answer should be around that. And that's our estimate. So that's exactly what they want you to do. Question 21, quite tricky. I just sort of come ahead here and sort of taken this information into a little sketch. The blue part is the midpoint. So what's key here is that this value, this x value, is going to be the number halfway between 6 and 17. Now, a little trick to find the midpoint between 6 and 17 is to add them together and divide by 2. So 11.5. So K is 11.5. And if we do the same for J, well, we can't quite do the same for J. But what we could do is say 4 plus J. So we're taking the Y values now divided by 2 equals 15. So that means 4 plus J must equal 30. If we don't divide it by 2, it'll equal 30. So J must be 26 because 4 add 26 is 30. So we can put J down there as 26. Question 22. I've written the questions out here, one in red and one in blue, just to show you two different ways of doing this. With simultaneous equations, I always like to eliminate, which means we've got to get either the x is the same or the y is the same. So on the left, I'm going to get the x is the same. So we need a common multiple of 5 and 2, which is 10x. So I'm going to make them both have 10x. To get that, we've got to times the top equation by 2 and the bottom one by 5. So you've got to times every part of the top by 2. So we get this. And every part of the bottom one by 5. And that is 22. Just double check that. 22. Okay, now we've done that, we can eliminate the x's by subtracting. 10x take away 10x is 0. That was the whole point. 8y take away minus 5y. Be really careful here. If you take away minus 5y, you're adding on 5y. And minus 4 take away 22 is minus 26. I feel confident at this point because I find y I've got to divide by 13, and minus 26 divided by 13 is 2, or minus 2 in this case. And then I'm going to substitute minus 2 back into one of them. I'm going to substitute into the top one. 5x plus 4 times minus 2 equals minus 2. So 5x minus 8 equals minus 2. Just going to circle that as one of our answers. 5x equals 6, because I've got to add on 8. So x equals 1.2. Okay. So simultaneous equations is about as hard as it gets on the foundation paper. And I whizzed through that. So maybe worth, in your interest, going away and having a look at it if you're not sure. The other option here, and it's probably what I prefer, is to get the y's the same. Firstly, because I only need to change one of them. I'm going to times the bottom one by 4. So I get 5x plus 4y equals minus 2. And then 8x minus 4y equals 4.4 times 4, which is 17.6. Now what I can do is add the equations together to eliminate the y's. 4y add minus 4y gets rid of the y's, and we get 15.6. Which doesn't feel right. Oh, it's because I put y's there. Those are x's. So to get x, we divide 15.6 by 13, which should give us the 1.2 again, which it does. And then we would substitute 1.2 into, say, the top equation. 5 times 1.2 plus 4y equals minus 2. So we get 6 plus 4y, I'm running out of room here, equals minus 2. So 4y equals, let me just double check what I've done here. Did it equal minus 2 yet? So I take away 6, so I get 4y equals minus 8, and y equals minus 2. So yeah, quite a lot of working out there. What you need to remember is you didn't need to do both. I was just showing you. So you got a choice, but either way we get x as 1.2 and y as minus 2. Question 23. We've got an interest in a bank. So banks will give you interest if you put money in their account. And they like these questions where you've got two banks and you've got to compare them. So bank G gives you compound interest. So what we need to know for this is the formula for compound interest. And we also need to know the decimal multiplier for a 1.6% increase. What I mean by that is 100 plus 1.6 is 101.6%, which as a decimal is 1.016. So in bank G, to increase by 1.6, we times by 1.106, and we do that twice. You can just write it to the power of 2 if you want to. So 5,000 times 1.016 squared. Matteo will end up with 5,161.26 francs. In bank H, just get 2.9% added after 2 years. So it'd be 5,000 times, let's come back up here, 100 plus 2.9 is 102.9%, or 1.029 will be the multiplier. So 5,000 times 1.029, it's not going to be as much. It told us that. He would end up with 5,145 Swiss francs. Really tempting to stop here, but we need to always make sure we go back and say, right, bank G is more than the amount of interest. How much more? Okay, so what's the difference between these? So we're just going to do 5,161.26, take away our 5,145. And that is a difference of 16.26 francs. Just going to double check my answer before I move on. 16.28 is what it's telling me. So where did I go wrong? Did I write this one down wrong? 5,000 times 1.016 times 1.016. Yeah, I wrote that down wrong, so that should be an 8. So that means my answer is 16.28 francs. Okay. Obviously, if this was an exam, I wouldn't have caught that, but I just wrote that down wrong. And then question 24. So we're getting near the end now. There's not many questions left. This feels, part A feels like, wow, how are we going to do this? M plus 2 to the power of 0. What do we get? Well, you just need to know that anything to the power of 0 is 1. So you could try that. 12 to the power of 0, 515 to the power of 0, they all equal 1. This one, we've got a cube, this bracket. So let's zoom right in on this because it's helpful. So we've got a cube every part. So we've got a cube the 3. 3 cubed is 27. We've also got a cube a squared. So we times the powers together here. So it's a to the power of 2 times 3, a to the power of 6. And likewise for the b, 4 times 3 is 12. So b to the power of 12. Let's stay zoomed in here. Factorize this fully. So we've got to take out the highest common factor of 14 and 21. That would be 7. And then we're going to come through and see if we can take out some x's and some y's. So the highest common factor of x squared and x cubed is x squared. And the highest common factor of y to the power of 4 and y to the power of 2 is y to the power of 2. And then we've got to finish this off. So 7 times 2 gives us the 14. We don't need to add any x's in because we've got the x squared, but we need y squared there so that when we times them, we get 14x squared y to the power of 4. 7 times 3 gives us 21. We need an x there. X squared times x to the power of 1. We don't need to put the 1, but it exists. And we don't need a y squared or anything there because that will come from outside the bracket. It's okay if you leave your answer there, but if you want to write it on there, do that. And then I've come ahead here and I've highlighted the 4 because that is what's called the y-intercept. So a straight line graph will be in the form y equals mx plus c. C is the y-intercept and m is the gradient. That's why I've drawn this little triangle on here. The gradient is for every one you go along, how far do you go up or down? Well, in this case, we go down 2 on the scale, not just 2 squares, but from -2 to 0. So be careful of the scale. So we can just put these numbers in. Y equals -2x plus 4. That's the equation of this line. I'm just going to use these colors because I'm going to upload this sheet as well. If you want to come and look at the handwritten answers, they'll be there. Question 25 and the final question on the paper. We need to figure out the area of the triangle. That's what it wants us to do overall. We're told the perimeter of this triangle is 54, and there's what's called hatching to show that these are equal lengths. So we can figure out what each of those sides are. They're going to be 54. Take away the 24 we already know. So those two sides add up to 30. And if we halve them, because they're the same, each one's 15. And then what we need to know about an isosceles is that this is a line of symmetry, and that would create a right angle triangle, which I've drawn over here. Make that clear. Half of 24 is 12, so that's why this length is 12. We need this right angle triangle because to work out the area of a triangle, we need its height. So now what we've sort of established is this is the height of the triangle. So if we can figure out this side, we'll be okay. What we should be thinking, right angle triangles, missing sides is either Pythagoras or trigonometry. We always want it to be Pythagoras. Well, I do because it's easier. And this is Pythagoras because we know 2 sides and we're trying to find the third. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared is your formula for Pythagoras. What's key is that c is the hypotenuse, so it's the 15. A and b are interchangeable, so let's just say we're trying to find a. So a squared plus b squared, so 12 squared equals 15 squared. And then just go through and square these numbers. 15 squared, 225. And then we can make a squared the subject by taking away 144 from 225. We get 81, and we should feel happy about that because the square root of 81 is 9. We got a nice whole number. So the height is 9. So to work out the area of this triangle, because we now know the height is 9, we would do 24 times 9. Base times height, don't forget to divide by 2. 24 times 9, 216. Half of 216 is 108. So the area of this triangle is 108. Okay, so that is the paper completed. Please comment or subscribe if you liked it. I'm going to try and go through a lot more of these IGCSE papers. There's quite a few of them missing, so please do support this channel if you like these videos or if they're helpful. I will upload the handwritten solutions that I've just created here and the hints paper if you want to have a go at that. And thank you for watching.